investigation as to how they were killed in Jordan?
No, they're doing that. That'll be released.
There was a report
you know what?
that it was Iran targeting barracks.
I don't know. Well, they're going to pay a big price. They're being decimated.
More American troops have been killed as conflict with Iran intensifies, yet Donald Trump shows no indication of pulling back. Even as Iran continues unleashing devastating retaliation across the Gulf, Donald Trump is threatening an even broader wave of military strikes against Tehran. Donald Trump has now made a sensational claim, insisting that Americans are not opposed to the ongoing war despite mounting casualties. As Washington doubles down on military action, Mojtaba Khamenei has fired back with a warning that Iran is prepared to launch more tit-for-tat strikes. As the death toll among U.S. troops in the Iran conflict continued to climb, Donald Trump unveiled a fresh and far more aggressive threat directed at Tehran. On July 22, the U.S. president openly warned that American forces could once again bomb civilian infrastructure located inside Iranian territory. Trump declared that U.S. troops would target and destroy bridges as well as power plants in and around the Iranian capital if attacks continued. Trump said, and I quote, "From this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to, or in, the capital city of Tehran." Shortly after posting the message on Truth Social, Trump vowed retaliation for the recent killings of American service members in the Gulf region. Trump made the remarks ahead of a dignified transfer ceremony honoring 4 U.S. troops who were killed during the ongoing conflict. 3 American service members were killed after an Iranian missile struck Jordan's Muwaffaq Salti air base, according to U.S. officials. A 4th U.S. service member was reportedly killed in Iraq's Erbil during an operation involving hostile drone activity. Trump also insisted that Americans remain supportive of the war with Iran despite the steadily rising military death toll.
To honor our heroes, and they are indeed great heroes, actually. They said, and all of them said very strongly, we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. They won't have a nuclear weapon. So we're going to honor them. And one of the hardest things to do, for me, it's one of the hardest things to do as a president. But has to be done.
As we go to honor these soldiers, do you have an update on the investigation as to how they were killed in Jordan?
No, they're doing that. That'll be released.
There was a report
you know what?
that it was Iran targeting barracks.
I don't know. Well, they're going to pay a big price. They're being decimated.
Is that report inaccurate?
Yeah, please.
Sir, say families of fallen soldiers, when Americans are wrongly against this war, how do you ask them?
Well, Americans aren't against the war. A poll just came out. Americans don't want high gasoline prices, but they're not against the war. That just came out loud and clear in a poll. Nobody wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Do you want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? You think it's good? Go ahead. All I'm going to say is we love you. We love your child, and that's what they are to them. They're their children. There's no games, no nothing. That's their child. And all you can do is throw out your heart. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Despite Trump's latest bombing threat, Iran showed little sign of backing down or softening its military posture. Tehran warned that any fresh provocation by U.S. forces would trigger direct strikes on critical civilian infrastructure across the Gulf region. A senior Iranian military official declared that Tehran possessed an iron will to enforce its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, according to Tasneem. Iran's retaliatory campaign is already inflicting severe disruption across Gulf countries, with Jordan and Kuwait among the hardest-hit regions. In the latest round of tit-for-tat exchanges, Iran continued raining missiles and drones on America's Gulf allies, intensifying the regional battlefield. On July 22, the IRGC claimed its forces delivered major blows to multiple U.S. military bases stationed across Jordan. Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards named the latest wave of attacks inside Jordan as Operation Al-Barq, presenting it as a major military campaign. According to Press TV, the IRGC targeted Jordan's Al Faisal and Prince Hassan air bases, both hosting key American military assets. Iran claimed F-15 fighter jets, military drones, and helicopters stationed at the 2 US bases were deliberately placed in its crosshairs. According to IRNA, Iran claimed the strikes destroyed 8 newly deployed US MQ-9 Reaper drones while leaving 2 others heavily damaged. The IRGC further asserted that its operation in Jordan also inflicted damage on 2 heavy-duty American military helicopters. Press TV further claimed the Iranian strikes left several American troops either injured or killed during the latest barrage. Iran also recalled that 3 US soldiers were killed in an earlier attack on a military base in Jordan on July 17th. The IRGC further alleged that housing blocks and service buildings inside Jordan's Azraq Air Base also came under direct attack. Jordan's armed forces, however, maintained that Iranian drones were successfully intercepted and destroyed before reaching their intended targets. Beyond Jordan, American military installations in Kuwait and Bahrain also reportedly came under an intense onslaught of Iranian missiles and drones. Iran claimed its Arosh drones struck equipment depots and aircraft hangars inside Bahrain's strategically important Sheikh Isa Air Base. Iran said its drones targeted US military facilities at Camp Doha in Kuwait on July 22 during its latest round of attacks. According to Iran's Tasnim news agency, the strikes hit ammunition depots and logistics equipment used by US ground forces. Tehran described the operation as a direct response to what it called repeated US military aggression against Iran. Iranian officials said the country's armed forces remained fully prepared to respond to any further US military action in the region. Amid the reported attacks, Kuwait said its air defense systems were intercepting hostile drones over parts of the country. Iran described Camp Doha as a major US military support hub responsible for troop deployments and logistical operations. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera reported that Kuwaitis began rationing electricity after strikes reportedly damaged parts of the national power grid. Kuwaiti authorities said conservation measures helped reduce pressure on the electricity network during periods of peak demand. Meanwhile, one of Donald Trump's top diplomats hinted that Washington could still seek to revive diplomatic negotiations with Iran despite the escalating conflict. Amid the escalating war, the U.S. Secretary of State used a public appearance to sharply criticize Iran over the breakdown of peace talks, accusing Tehran of undermining diplomacy even as Washington insists it still prefers a negotiated way out of the crisis. Marco Rubio said on July 22 that Iran had failed to uphold commitments reached in previous rounds of negotiations, arguing that agreements only matter if both sides actually implement what they sign and suggesting that Tehran had fallen short on that basic test. Rubio warned that the United States would take whatever steps it deems necessary if Iran is not serious about negotiations, stressing that Washington is ready for talks but will not hesitate to act to protect its own interests and those of its allies if diplomacy is abused or stalled. He delivered these remarks while speaking at an ASEAN meeting, using the regional forum to explain the U.S. position to Asian partners and to frame the Iran crisis as a broader issue of international security and respect for commitments, not just a Middle Eastern dispute.
We are open-minded and always willing to engage in negotiated settlements of differences, and that remains true in the case of Iran. Unfortunately, as of now, despite their direct outreaches, and Iran has been reaching out to the United States both directly and indirectly to engage in talks about settling the differences with regards to what's happening in that part of the world. Unfortunately, so far, even though we have reached agreements, they have not kept their commitments. And as the President stated earlier today, I guess, today Washington time, yesterday our time here now, the problem we're having right now is that they're not serious about talks. If they're serious, we're serious. If they're not, then we will do what is necessary to protect that, our interest and also the interest of our allies. And if we create a precedent in the Middle East where a nation state can decide that they are going to control an international waterway, charge a toll, and if you don't pay them, blow up your ships, we have created a very dangerous precedent which will repeat itself in other parts of the world, including in this region. So what is at stake here is not simply the issue of what's happening in the Straits of Hormuz. It's a very fundamental principle about freedom of navigation. The United States is now going to, as we announced last year and have been following up in the year since our last gathering, leverage all available tools in our government to strengthen these relations, and that includes on the topic of foreign assistance. As part of that effort, we're delivering $2.5 billion in U.S. government strategic investments in Southeast Asia, reinforcing our commitment to the region. And we're investing because the development of ASEAN is also in the interest of the United States. This is not charity. This is not something we're doing because we're nice people, although I believe we are nice people, but it's in our national interest.
Over the weekend, at least 3 U.S. troops were killed in Iranian attacks, underscoring how costly the fighting has become for American forces even before any new escalation orders are carried out. Rubio's latest remarks came as US and Iranian forces traded blows for the 11th straight day, with continuous exchanges turning the conflict into a grinding war of attrition rather than short, sharp strikes. US War Secretary Pete Hegseth has told lawmakers that the financial cost of the war has already reached about $37.5 billion, highlighting how the campaign is draining resources even as the administration asks for more emergency funding. Trump has meanwhile threatened to order a major strike on a suspected Iranian nuclear site known as Pickaxe Mountain, warning that US forces could hit the underground complex very heavily in the near future. That threat prompted Tehran to warn that any attack on such a facility would mark an expansion of the war across the region, with Iranian commanders vowing to target US interests and those of its allies if Pickaxe Mountain is struck.